It's almost here, boys. The launch of Assassin's Creed Shadows, the final nail in Ubisoft's coffin. It's gonna be bad, and we have our favorite 100% not shill YouTubers at all. Oh yes, Mr. Matty Plays, Joy Raptor, Juicehead, Luke Steffens, all of them have gotten to play the greatness that is Assassin's Creed Shadows before launch. Interesting. How does this work, I wonder?
And I had the opportunity to go hands-on with Assassin's Creed Shadows for up to 4 hours. I spent 3 hours with the game. Shout out to Ubisoft.
He couldn't even last the 4 hours. The game was so good, he was done in 3.
For the hands-on opportunity, you already know I was covering Ubisoft for a while, but then AC Shadows got delayed, and I held off on.
Wait, you know what's my favorite part about every Mr. Matty video ever or whatever? They know that people expect nothing from the game. So, their video names are something like, so I played Assassin's Creed Shadows early, ... And all of them are the same. The biggest chills obviously just say, oh, it's amazing! I didn't like anything in the game, but it was amazing! But yeah, I love these precautious titles because, you know, you can't be negative, but you need to kind of be on the negative side because, you know, if you're positive, people are going to instantaneously call you a shill, so, you know, it's a tightrope to walk, okay?
On a lot of my Ubisoft coverage until I could get my hands on time with AC Shadows to pick things back up, because there's been a lot of question marks surrounding this game, right? And especially when a lot of Ubisoft's future hangs in the balance and it all seems dependent on the success or failure of this video game. The pressure,
fail and die, please,
couldn't be higher. So I thought knowing more about this game before I continue talking about Ubisoft would probably be in my best interest and yours as well. So the reason I didn't maximize my 4 hours is not my usual rule when it comes to previews, which is like, hey, if I'm having a great time, I'm going to step away and try to preserve my experience. I stopped early because I wasn't having really a great time. I'm going to be honest. Look, the main question I had
I'm sorry, did Ubisoft actually not fly him out to Disney Assassin's Creed land, lather him up like a piglet, and then send him to an expensive 5-star hotel where there's a pile of cash mysteriously on the bed who someone forgot, but it's fine if you keep it, and there's like 3 exotic women of the night also there? I'm sorry, did Ubisoft
going into Assassin's Creed Shadows beyond, can this save Ubisoft, was really in a world of many Japanese style titles, your Neos, your Samurai Warriors, your Rise of the Ronins, Sekiro, and of course the biggest comparable in Ghost of Tsushima with Ghost of Yotei this year was, how is Ubisoft going to separate itself from the bunch, or at least offer something of a high enough quality
by having a black dude murder native Japanese? Yeah, that seems pretty unique,
where it's going to at least stand toe-to-toe with a lot of really great options. There was a time about a decade or so ago that if Assassin's Creed Shadows came out, it would have been a guaranteed success just by setting alone, just by ideas alone, but that's not the case anymore. And that was one of the big problems I had with AC Shadows. Out the gate, I went, hey, this looks cool and all, but can you really deliver in a time where this is a very saturated open world space? I have a lot of thoughts, so let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into the latest previews, I got one more coming for you this week, so stay tuned, and let's begin, starting off at the top. I think when AC Shadows is at its most interesting and unique is when it's fully leaning into its stealth gameplay, but also, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit interested in what's happening with the Animus. It was vague and ambiguous, but in a good way. You're in this Animus hub, and you can see throughout all the timelines the various Assassin's Creed games that have come out in recent years, from Mirage to Valhalla, but as you're going through a little bit of this opening segment here, you'll get brief cut-ins where they'll say, like, she doesn't want you to see them. And there's moments where they talk about rewriting their history. So I feel like this is going to play with the time element in a really interesting way. And when they were focusing on that more so, which I never really said about an Assassin's Creed game, but a little bit more of that animus intrusion, it gave it a unique flavor on an otherwise familiar story setup. Like if you've played Neo or if you played the Samurai Warrior games, you've seen these various historical figures before. Of course, they are real
You know what's my favorite part is going to be about Yosuke? The fact that he actually is going to betray Nobunaga. Which is hilarious. Because the only part that they could have actually gotten historically right about Yusuke as a character is the fact that he at least was, at the end of the day, kind of loyal to him. But no, he's just gonna beat... No, wait, was it Nobunaga? Yeah, it was Nobunaga. No, it wasn't Nobunaga. Whatever. Yasuke's gonna betray his master. That's what they're gonna do. The only part of history that could have been easily accurate, the fact that he wasn't, was not a traitor. Shit.
Historical figures, but you've seen them in video game form before, and yes, it is the same style of story setup that you have seen multiple times. But really the driving force of this plot is vengeance. And one thing that really surprised me with AC Shadows was how dialogue and cutscene heavy it was. Most times that is something I'm sitting there applauding for, but in the case of Ubisoft, what got me nervous, and was rightfully so, is this puts a lot of pressure on their writing team. And if you were to ask me what I found to be...
Oh no, a story-driven game has to emphasize story elements, and he's unironically saying, yeah, that kind of scares me because it's Ubisoft and they're really bad at writing stuff. Damn.
The weakest link at Ubisoft, it would be writing, and their strongest link being the world design, the architecture, just bringing these biomes to life. They always hit a home run there, in my opinion, but their writing team has just not done it for me for a long while. I think maybe Child of Light, that's Valiant Hearts. Those are the last two Ubisoft games I can think of where I felt something. So when you're driving the story forward with vengeance, which is a common theme in this style of video game, and they're working together in this dual protagonist role, and the prologue is this very disjointed approach where you're hopping between them in different time periods, it really failed to hook me. And this also features a lot of walking talking segments where you'll just
we talked about this, but this is a hilarious scene.
Features a lot of...
Look at this. Ah, yes, you beat a 70-year-old man. Now you true samurai. No, this is supposed to be real life, okay? The fact that you can beat up someone who's one step in the grave already is not impressive, okay?
Walking talking segments where you'll just like hold A and follow an NPC for like 2 minutes and just yammer on. One thing I do like about the game...
Wait a minute, you're seriously gonna have literal segments when you're just walking with an NPC for 2 minutes? That's so lame. In GTA 5, it worked great because you had to drive places, and then between you driving, there was banter between characters, and it's well written, so you liked it. But here, imagine slowly walking 2 minutes with a boring character made by people from Ubisoft. That is hell.
Game, though, when it comes to the story setup, are two modes that they offer you. One is called canon mode, so there are times where dialogue selection is happening in this game, and quite frankly, I feel like the best way to play this after going through it with canon mode off is maybe turning it on, because sometimes the choices just don't feel right. Like there was a choice toward the end of my demo where I could decide on the life or death of someone, and I was like, you know what, this doesn't feel like giving the...
By the way, this seems so strange. How can you have a canon mode here? How can you have a mode that chooses the right choices for you? What the hell?
In the setup that this should even be a choice. We know what these characters would do in this moment. Now, don't get me wrong, I love choice and I love the agency, but I almost feel like turning it on would be a better experience for you. The other mode they have is immersion mode. So this is focusing on really using Japanese, Portuguese languages in certain parts that make sense. And I played it through the whole way here like this, and I do think it added a little bit of something to the experience. So keep those modes in mind as you're sniffing around AC Shadows, and if that is something that may interest you. When I think dual protagonists in Assassin's Creed, I think about, of course, Assassin's Creed Syndicate. I think of Evie and Jacob Fry, and how they were twins, so them being together worked really well in that even if both characters weren't super interesting, you didn't have to like split up the prologue and then bring these two together. It was just right out the gate, they were working together and they had similar abilities. Whereas in this case, they have different play styles. Naoe is your more stealth-focused character. She can get into fights, she can hold her own, but that's where I died the most. Whereas Yasuke can step up, fight by himself, and pretty much steamroll.
Holy, he's just brutalizing a woman. Oh man, someone wanted to include some real realism here. Isn't it a bit too much?
Everyone. And we'll
Look at that.
get into the combat.
Execute her.
It's my biggest problem with the game. Like I said, though, the biggest strength here is the stealth. I love being able to extinguish light.
Anyone who says the biggest strength here is the stealth, I just don't know what to say. From everything that we have seen about Assassin's Creed Shadows, stealth seems just so unreasonably bad. It's like, ah yes, I'm gonna just destroy this lamp here for no reason, and the enemies are like, lamp destroyed? Me know what you're doing now. Must go to lamp. And then he's like, lamp destroyed. Are you kidding me now? It's so dumb.
Go completely prone. This opens up a lot of the level design. That's why it's good. You're going to be able to crawl underneath buildings. You're going to be using your grapple hook and swinging from rooftop to tree to rooftop. It feels really good in these moments. But interesting.
Yeah, I love the idea that you can land on the roof and no one's going to notice. I mean, this is such an assassin that, you know, physics take away.
Interestingly, one thing that Ubisoft highlighted in a talk before the actual demo was that they want you to use your eyes more. So they've tried to enforce a lot of game design that has you leaning less on their tools. But what they said, which I know applies a little bit less to you versus what I got, I wasn't really feeling that. Like, you'll use your eagle vision. You'll be able to see everyone through walls. You'll mark them all. And I don't know what the difference between using my eyes like that and using an eagle, for example, in the sky like I did in Assassin's Creed Origins, what the difference is there. I'm marking them all, and I'm tapping through the area one by one. No real difference to me. The other way they do it is through navigation of the open world. So I'll climb to a tall area. I'll do my sync point, but it doesn't add all these markers to the map, which I like. Doesn't vomit them all on the map. That's been a big piece of criticism toward Ubisoft in the last few years. What they do now,
I mean, how is this different though? Now it just takes more time.
Is while you're up there, think of Breath of the Wild, right? Where you're going to start pinging stuff on your map. There's a limited amount of stuff that you can ping. You're going to go and discover them on your own. And I do like that change. But what's also interesting is the main story sometimes will be like, he's in Hashima in this western village and he's in this temple. And so what you can do is open up your map and you can either find it yourself or you can send scouts out, which just marks it on your map. Now, the scouts are currency. You can refresh them at your hideout, which is a whole part of the game I did not see, like customizing your hideout, adding things.
It currently just seems like for game mechanics that previously gave you too much and didn't require any effort for you to do, that Ubisoft decided that the way to fix the problems that people have with already existing systems was just to make them more tedious, which is stupid.
To your hideout, like you can build it out, you can hire people, and I was able to call in some help. Like I called in a shinobi who was like a free kill basically. That stuff was cool, but that whole mechanic I didn't really get to fully dive into, so I'm not too knowledgeable
It
on
just
that
runs
yet,
out of nowhere.
You can definitely get different scouts that can go around the map and find objectives for you, and it was just weird to me because it's like, you know, a kind of have your cake and eat it too moment for Ubisoft where I get what they're trying to do and I respect it, but I don't really feel like it ultimately works out the way they're hoping to at the end of the road, because it's going to be, I imagine, knowing a Ubisoft game, very easy to replenish. But nonetheless,
I'm sorry, you understand how much noise a bell like that dropping on an old shingle roof or tiled roof, I think it's called, is gonna do? I mean, you might as well raise the alarm on your own, because that is not really a solution.
To replenish. But nonetheless, I like that at least they're trying to focus less on map markers, which you're still going to be exploring the world using a ton of them. So again, the designs kind of conflict with what they're saying, but you're still going to be using them a lot, but maybe a little bit less so compared to, say, Valhalla. But I still have problems, right? And so I wanted to kind of go up front with the things that I liked most about the game or were tolerable, I will just say the story so far was boring. You know, that's the best term I can use for it. I was not engaged with the characters because the pressure was on the writers to make these characters interesting. And
The fact that he unironically says that, oh, I don't like Assassin's Creed when they focus on the story because Ubisoft is shit at writing, is just so crazy.
the gameplay was kind of a wishy-washy version of titles I've played before. So let's get into the combat, because that is my biggest issue, and it was my biggest fear going in, because when I was watching some of the gameplay from trailers and stuff, just preparing for this preview, I was like, yeah,
damn, Yasuke, this is not New York. What are you doing?
yeah, Yasuke doesn't look like it.
Yep, that is as good as it gets.
When it comes to playing, like, I want to be Naoe 10 out of 10 times, but a lot of times the missions I feel are best played with Yasuke, and that's the trick.
You have the choice between being African that literally genocides Japan or a Japanese twink. Wow, what choices.
With some of this design in this game, and I do respect it, is that you have to, throughout the whole game, make it where it's interesting for stealth so that Naoe can get around and it can be fun to play as, but also fill the area enough with enemies where if you're playing as Yasuke and you're trying to bulldoze the game, it's not that easy. So what happens is when you're playing as stealthy Naoe, you know, you just have these moments where there's like a million enemies roaming around. I'm like, it's just best to sometimes avoid them, which I find cool. But in the combat sector of things, what you have is a very sloppy hybrid between Sekiro and Assassin's Creed Odyssey and a little bit, I guess, of Ghost of Tsushima. So there's a parry system, and when you see a little white glimmer on an enemy sword, and if you time your block at the right time, very forgiving parry window, by the way, you'll knock your enemy off balance, and you'll be able to cut away at them. And by the way, in these demos, the publishers will always juice up your characters and make you feel really powerful.
Seriously? Well, that's kind of true, because you need to juice up the game for reviewers, because they're typically bad. At least normal, games reviewers on average. But, dude, if this is juiced up, this combat is horrendous. Because look at this.
Juice up your characters and make you feel...
You're slashing him like 15 times.
really powerful. Enemies are really spongy still.
Dude, yeah, this is like super sponginess.
In my personal experience, but nonetheless, when it comes to parrying...
Yeah, look at that. Did you see that? Watch.
When it...
Yeah, look at him.
But nonetheless...
Bam. A hit. A direct hit. I don't know, that's probably a light attack or whatever, but still, look at this. That is how much of the bar? Like 1/20th? 1/30th? That is insane sponginess. Holy, if Dragon Age Veilguard was ripped because of its super bad combat, this is a whole new dimension.
When it comes to parrying, that's what you're going to be doing. Sometimes you'll see a blue attack coming in. That's where you have to deflect multiple times. And when you do that, they're open again and you can attack once more. And then there's also the red, and that's for dodging. And when you dodge, they're off balance and you can attack them. So,
oh my god, an enemy healed with a magical drink Estus flask.
Idea is this sort of give and take.
Dude, this is insane. No, thank you. Okay, onward. This is just painful.
You just light attack them a ton.
Still painful. Okay.
You're trying to just get creative and avoid enemies, but Ubisoft. But I will just say that I missed the days where it's like, oh, I'm going to take you out and I'm just more focused on navigating the level. Which does bring up one really strange thing about the game. Not going to overreact to it yet, but something I'm going to monitor if I get to fully review the game is that you'll have these animus walls, we'll call them, where I was like navigating the area trying to just get creative and avoid enemies, but Ubisoft will like put up these walls and be like, no, you can't climb that building and get around. And I'm guessing it's because what would happen is I would just easily avoid all of the encounters they designed.
Oh, that is bad. That is
designed, which I get, but I feel like
oh man. Okay, listen. Maddie is trying so hard to just blatantly not say this game is shit. we're gonna have to look at Luke Stephens, what he is saying, because I mean, Luke Stephens is the goddamn fence rider, okay? He wakes up at night and can jump on that fence exactly split perfect and ride it like there's no tomorrow, okay? He's probably excited, then game comes out, everyone hates it, and he's like, oh, everyone hated it. Yeah, I know, I hate it also. The lies. I love YouTube Shill so much. Anyway, there is a lot of attempts by Matty here to not call the game flat out bad, but he is showing everything as bad as it is. So yeah. I have to give him props for that though at the end of the day. He doesn't want to lose these abilities to get these early reviews and whatnot, but at the same time he's like, okay, this is complete shit. I can't really say this is shit. I can just say, well, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea or something like that. And then he shows, he shows stuff that's absolutely horrible in game design. An invisible wall and an Assassin's Creed game with parkour. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What the fuck? But yeah, that's hilarious. And the combat's spongy and bad. Like, he's not saying it's super bad, but he's showing all the footage that is absolutely atrocious. Anyway, that was Mr. Matty Plays 10 out of 10. Bye!